coaster up and down. We're so high, can't see the ground. Paint our faces like a...
I'm having some technical difficulties because of the storm that hit Maui last week. I hope you guys don't mind seeing my physical media as my backdrop. This actually might be the new norm, so I might go back to this. What do you guys think? What's up, everyone? I'm Jaren, and today we are talking about Nightmare Alley. Some of you guys are thinking, damn, Jaren, you finally got a movie review out on the day of its release. Well, that's because I actually got to see this movie last week as an official member of the Hawaii Film Critics Society. Big shout out to those guys. Thank you guys so much for the opportunity and the privilege. I had a lot of fun, and I look forward to doing more public screenings soon. This movie is co-written and directed by the legendary Guillermo del Toro, and also based off the book by William Lindsay Gresham. I hope I said his name right. This story follows a mysterious drifter, played by Bradley Cooper, who joins a group of circus performers and carnies, learning the tricks and the trades of a mentalist. As he advances on this skill, he makes specific decisions that lead him down a dark path. Now, when I first heard about Del Toro's new passion project, I was on both sides of the fence on this one. One, because the man is a legend. I love all his movies, except for one. This brings me to reason two, which is I really disliked The Shape of Water. Sue me, I did not like it. Number three, I saw the trailer and I had no idea what the hell I was in for. Seriously, watching the trailer again, I still am confused about what the movie was really about, and that was a good thing. Not only did I not know that this movie was based off a novel that was published back in the early 20s, but they also made an original movie back in 47. Right off the bat, I was totally entrenched with the camera work and the production design. He even got a lot of help from Paul Thomas Anderson, as well as that director from Birdman and The Revenant. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to mispronounce something I can't remember properly. And J.J. Abrams. And you really can tell with the way these shots were handled because it was very immaculate. These shots were beautiful and very mesmerizing. They were just linger around, especially what they had built as far as sets and just the moments that the characters are in when there's no dialogue. It was just very well done. It was very precise. It knew what it wanted to show. There's a lot of talent put on display here, and it's not just the amazing direction, but as well as the cast. Not only do we have Bradley Cooper, but we also have Cate Blanchett, Rooney Mara, Toni Collette, Richard Jenkins, Ron Perlman, Willem Dafoe. My favorite character would probably have to be Willem Dafoe, because even though he doesn't have too much screen time, he does have a little twisted character that he just throws in there, and it's not what the movie shows, but what it implies, and some of the things that he says, it's kind of messed up, especially when he talks about how he would just take people off the streets and turn them into a show. I also enjoyed the talent and the presence of our wonderfully written women, Toni Collette, Rooney Mara, and Cate Blanchett, and the way they interplay in the three different acts with Bradley Cooper's character. Like, for example, the first act, Toni Collette, she's kind of more of a guidance, whereas Rooney Mara is kind of like the love interest in the middle, and Cate Blanchett becomes more of a threat, more of a rival in the third act, and it really progresses Bradley Cooper's character as well. Let's talk about Bradley Cooper's character. I also like the way they wrote him and how they slowly got to unveil his character and his past, because we don't really get to know who he is. In the first 15 minutes, he doesn't say a piece of dialogue at all. We are just following him, and you as a viewer, you have a lot of questions as he makes decisions that lead to consequences. As the story starts to get darker, we get to unveil his past slowly, peeling off the layers he was just trying to hide from everyone else, and even to us as viewers. And I just found that purely wonderful and kind of genius. Pretty twisted, but genius. After my screening, I did hear that Leonardo DiCaprio was supposed to play the Stan Carlisle character, and to be honest, that would have been amazing because Leonardo DiCaprio is my favorite actor of all time. But I can see where the role wouldn't have blossomed with his skill. It's not like DiCaprio hasn't done a movie like this before, but I really think that Bradley Cooper did this role justice. I mean, it comes to no surprise that DiCaprio turned it down because of his financial quota reasons, and he also turned down Licorice Pizza, which Bradley Cooper also took in his role in replacement. Going back to what I said about the trailer not being so clear on what the story is about, it's because the movie doesn't really have a plot. I mean, there are subplots and sub-arcs, but we really just follow Bradley Cooper's journey into the unknown, and we're just kind of skipping through the story. And especially like the first and the third act, which were great, the second act really kind of dips, and you really feel the pacing of the movie. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes, and they do this whole thing where there's a romance that blossoms, and without flushing out Rooney Mara's character, they just kind of fall in love. And I would care, normally, they develop that chemistry properly, but they just fall in love. Bradley Cooper and Rooney Mara just get together, they're in love, and they want to run away together. And so that gets a little muddled from time to time, and you really are asking yourself, like, where is this movie going? Now, when the third act begins introducing us to the Cate Blanchett character, she is like a psychologist, and she becomes somewhat of a interesting rival with Bradley Cooper's character. And, they want to help each other, but they're also sizing each other up, and you feel so much tension between them. And I was like on edge for some reason. Like, those were some of the best scenes of the movie, and the story tends to get a little darker, and then it begins to pick up of where it wants to go, and you're like, okay, I see where this is going, and it's so pleasing, and I just love the way it results. Now, the whole sub-arc with Richard Jenkins' character, I really wish that portion of the movie was the movie, the big subject matter, because if they did flush that out, this would have been a full frontal horror film. And I love when Del Toro puts some horror elements in his movie, but this really is more of a drama, so I can see where you just kind of got a little bit of a taste of everything, a little bit of romance, a little bit of horror, and mostly surrounding drama, and it's very well rounded. Personally, I think that the ending was probably one of my favorite endings that I've seen in a movie this year, and it's because it was a little bit cathartic, and I'm just like sitting there hearing the lines, and I'm like, that was genius. Watching this movie go full circle, and I kind of got a little bit more of a metaphorical understanding of why the movie's called Nightmare Alley, and as well as like the moral. I took away that if we live a life of lies, we are running in circles of our own limbo. As the world gets smaller and smaller, displeasing a lot of the people that we care about, we just end up running down some sort of nightmare alley. And there's nowhere else left to turn. That's my little takeaway from it. I know it doesn't necessarily make sense with all the words coming out, but that's just how I felt about it. I'd also like to think that some of the elements from American Horror Story Freak Show, as well as The Prestige, really influenced some of the human elements and struggles of this movie, because in the end, the only real monster that everyone pays to look for is in front of us all along. Now, I know that Spider-Man No Way Home is coming out the same weekend as this movie, but please, when you have the time, go out and support this film. This may not be Guillermo del Toro's best film, but it is immaculate and stands amongst the rest of his beautiful work. Once again, big thank you to the Hawaii Film Critics Society, and thank you to Kihei Regency Theaters for doing their best efforts in keeping the power on. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had this screening during Storm Day. So, big shout out to them. And thank you guys again so much for watching. Look forward to more reviews. I am Jaren Ugbanawag, and I will see you guys at the movies. Okay, bye.
Paint our faces like a clown. Let's pretend we're happy now. Roller coaster up and down. We're so high, can't see the